Let me ask this, Greg, and then Zach, you can follow up. We talk about these 10 players back on defense, only missing the one corner. So it's one thing to say 10 starters back on defense. That always sounds good, but the defense was what? Middle of the pack in the Big Ten. And I'm not just talking statistically, I'm talking about in real life, real football, in terms of their effectiveness, the quality of the defense, middle of the pack. So do we think that this is a defense that can, with those 10 starters back, has a ceiling to grow into a top level Big Ten defense and perform like that on the field? Or is it just, okay, 10 starters are back, they know what they're doing, they know what spots to be in, but there's only so much ceiling there to be a top level defense?
No, I think that's their goal is to be one of those top tier defenses in the league, and they believe that they have the guys there to do it now, and so I don't think middle of the pack's not going to be good enough for Coach Shenander. We've mentioned before that he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't get enough credit for some of the things that he's done, and we're talking about a defense too that, how many times last year did they get put in a hole and bend but don't break and keep the team in the game when all of a sudden you're giving the other team the ball inside the 10-yard line. So offense cutting down some of those turnovers goes a long way to help out all those defensive statistics that everybody likes to hang their hat on. So like I said, they don't believe that they're going to be a middle of the pack defense, and I don't think so either. I think that they're going to be up there, top half, top 3 or 4 defenses in the league.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the players they got back too, I mean, you should have a lot of faith in the secondary. I know they're still working on the battle at that second cornerback position, but we mentioned the D-line earlier. I expect them to be nastier. I think it's going to be really curious to see what happens in Honus's spot at that linebacker position. That's a big spot to fill because of that injury. But it's always great to have a guy like JoJo Domann around who can just play every position at any time. So I think when you have that game changer on the defense, it can make that defense jump from a top 50-ish defense to a team that can get up there in the top 30 when you have a guy that's that special.
All right, talking Nebraska football, everybody. Leave your comments, your questions, and debate topics there in the section to your right there in the live chat. And, of course, we're here every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock Eastern and 7 o'clock Central. Got Zach Reeder on the line from Fifth Quarter College Football. And, of course, the guy that anchors this thing and holds it down, Greg Peterson from Husker Online, breaking down the Huskers every week for us. All right, and would love to have bigger and bigger crowds in here each and every week. So tell people that we talk Nebraska football here every week. Share the links and just let people know that we're here talking Nebraska football. Joseph, why hasn't Scott Frost asked Grant Wistrom, Dominican Sue, a number of people he's mentioning from the past, have them come back to the program and tell these kids what is acceptable and what it takes to be black shirt?
He has, and they have. He's opened up his arms to any former player to, they have an open invitation to stop by anytime they want. And, they had that was a big deal here last summer, before, dealing with COVID and stuff. And they had some of those, big name black shirts come back and with summer conditioning and talk to those guys. And I'm sure that, there'll be some other times here when they get a bunch of them together and prep the defense and kind of tell them what it's like to be a black shirt and what they expect out of you as a black shirt. So yeah, it's been happening.
I think that comment on the bottom too, I think it's perfect. Honestly, I think our defense can hold people under 21. per game. And if you get that, with this type of offense, as Greg hit it earlier, just limit the turnovers. If you don't put the defense in a bad position, when they got 70 yards to work with last year, they were fantastic. When they were backed up, that's when things kind of seemed to unravel for them. But, if you get an offense that doesn't put them in a bad position, I mean, I think that, there's a lot of possibilities with this team with the talent that they have.
Yeah, if you look at last season, Ohio State scored 52. That was 52-17. The game was closer than that. If you compare that effort against what they did against the Buckeyes in 18 and 19, that was certainly a much better effort. It was a competitive game. If you just watch the play on the field, it was a competitive game. Certainly Ohio State much better, but much of a more competitive game than it had been. They held Northwestern to 21. They held Penn State to 23. They held, the Illinois game got away from them 41-23. They held Iowa to 26, Purdue 27, Minnesota 24, Rutgers 21. So outside of one game and the Ohio State game, they were keeping everyone in the low 20s.
You scored 28 points a game, and you got a pretty good record there.
Yep. Yes, you do. Moonbot 7, good to see you here. Greg is right, but they'll be playing at least 4 top 20 offenses, with 2 being national championship contenders. So the stats will be a little discouraging, but improvement will still be made on the defensive side.
And I think where you see the biggest difference too is those 50-50 games that they haven't been able to win, that we're just talking about right here. Your Iowa's, that Illinois game, games that you're supposed to be winning. And if you do what you're supposed to do and take care of these teams, then you're not worried about trying to scrape by just to make a bowl game. Then you can concentrate more on competing with the Iowas and the Wisconsins to get the right to go play in Indy. So, that's where the biggest difference I think this defense is going to make is that, you're going to see, you're going to hold teams down there to the 20, 21 point range. And, barring these horrible mistakes the offense makes and the special teams has made, I expect this offense to be able to put up 30, 35 points a game. And right there, you're probably, you do that, you're looking at 7 or 8 wins.
Yeah, and if you're able to do that with, putting up 30, 35 points and you're establishing those grueling drives that end up being 7 minutes because you're working the ground game, you're working screens, you're getting those chunks 5, 5, 5, that kills off a lot of the clock and forces, opposing offenses to be put in a situation where they take too many chances too fast. And then you end up in a position where you're in the fourth quarter and they're at 10 points. So that's exactly where they want to be. You just have to limit the mistakes and be able to consistently make plays on the offensive end, which it seemed like Nebraska was just too hit and miss in that category from a year ago.
Hey, Cheryl, good to see you. As always, you know that. Cheryl's our moderator. Good to see you, Cheryl. Cheryl's a Buckeyes fan. Cheryl is going to push back a little bit, say holding teams to under 21 points is not happening. Well, I would agree with that to a certain extent. Of course, I would think it would be a monumental effort if they held Ohio State to 21 points or Oklahoma to 21 points. But we're talking about the bulk of the schedule. So the bulk of the schedule, Greg and I had this conversation a few weeks ago about kind of that next chunk of teams. And I'm not disrespecting Northwestern. I know that they have won the division 2 of the last 3 years, but from a talent standpoint and where the program is, I think Wisconsin and to a lesser degree, Iowa are the best programs in the conference in the division right now. That there's that next block of Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, those 3, kind of Minnesota, just that next block of teams that Nebraska should beat almost all the time. So instead of like splitting those games and going 2-2, 2-3, 3-3 against those teams, and then you could carry that over to the Big Ten East when they play a Maryland or somebody like that, Michigan State. They should, if they want to get to where they want to get, which is right there battling with Iowa and Wisconsin the last couple of weekends of the season for the Western Division, then you got to beat those teams almost all the time, if not all the time. So those are the teams, I guess, if I'm reading you guys right, it's realistic to say, our defense should be able to hold those teams in check, hold them to 21 points on average, the Minnesotas, the Northwesterns, the Illinois, and we'll beat them. We should beat them by 10, 15 points. And then we'll concern ourselves with the next rung there.
Yeah, that's absolutely what we've been talking about the whole time. And you bring that running game up, and you like we've talked about so many times about looking for that identity, and that power running game is, I think, what everybody's wanting that identity to be, and that's a key to success. And I think back to last week. I don't think we answered the question, but somebody had asked, what do you bet that the first offensive play of the year is a swing pass? I hope it's not. That's all I can say. I hope it's a run right up the middle. So that's what we want to see around here, at least.
I don't know. I kind of want it to be a swing pass that works for a big game, so that nobody knows what to say anymore. No, but I know what you're saying, and when you look at that next tier of Big Ten teams that you're mentioning, they're not high octane offenses either by any means. Those are teams that you should keep in check if you want to be a good team. Those are teams you should hold around 21 points without a question. Unless your offense puts you in a bad position, that's where it gets out of hand, like the Illinois game last year.